It's Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1, 3 of the country's biggest property groups reported yesterday. And the beleaguered sector is showing signs of life in some areas, notably data centres and, believe it or not, shopping centres, Sean, but it's struggling in others, namely residential.
The big one was Goodman Group. It's a logistics company that has morphed into data centres. In fact, it's doubling down on data centres. It's raising $4 billion to spend on sites in Los Angeles, Sydney, Melbourne, Madrid and Tokyo. About half its work is data centres nowadays. Now, they reckon that Greg Goodman, the CEO, says that the $4 billion will create about $10 billion worth of value and 500 megawatts of capacity. Remember the old days you used to talk about square meterage? Now we talk about megawatts of capacity. Pretty amazing. Pretty strong result from Goodman as well.
Vicinity, Sean, was another one that reported. It owns big retail assets, Chadstone in Victoria, QVB in Sydney, a bunch of others. It boasts that 2/3 of Australians live within 30 minutes. How's retail land looking?
It reckons there's going to be a shortage in shopping centres over the next decade, which is a long way from post-COVID ideas. And what's happening? Population growth. We're getting a lot more retail sales. In fact, 30% up over the next 10 years, they're forecasting, but fewer shops. That should support the big shopping centre players. Vicinity itself, on the back of revaluations, had a pretty strong result. Its share price jumped 2%. Stockland also does retail, but mostly it's in residential development, master planned communities, that type of thing. Its chief executive, Taram Gupta, said things are a bit tough. He'd like to see another rate cut. Add in recent announcements from office block owners, Dexus, Mirvac and Lendlease, the whole property sector is just looking a little bit better now than it has for a while.
Indeed. Okay, on to story number 2 now. The big shock yesterday in earnings season was National Australia Bank's quarterly report. The result itself was okay, solid even, you might say, but it didn't beat expectations, and NAB's share price was down, 8%?
Yeah, so the profit disappointed. It was down 2%. Revenue was flat. Bad and doubtful debts and mortgage arrears were a touch higher than Commonwealth Bank and Westpac, but still pretty low. Like, it wasn't that bad a profit. I mean, it came in at $1.7 billion for the 3 months. However, all these bank stocks are priced to perfection. Unless they do really well, people want to sell them off. This wasn't a great result. It was just a good result, therefore investors sold off National Australia Bank. Some of the other banks got caught up in it. It almost seemed like investors were looking for a reason to sell the banks.
Story number 3, the South Australian Parliament has effectively forced the Whyalla steelworks, which is owned by Indian billionaire Sanjeev Gupta, into administration, putting thousands of jobs at risk.
Premier Peter Malinauskas called in court Mentha after passing legislation that will give the state rights to enter the steelworks, get access to the accounts, and to give the state government a first charge over debts owed by the steelworks. Sanjeev Gupta's LPMA, which is owned by his global group GFC Alliance, owes the South Australian government tens of millions in unpaid royalties, while South Australian Water is owed something like $15 million. The background to this: the steelworks and Mr. Gupta's lender Greensill collapsed 4 years ago, leaving the group in a big financial hole. About 3,000 people in South Australia work for the company. Mr. Gupta previously has said he's hoping to get the steelworks back to profitability by mid-year, but the South Australian government has taken that out of his hands.
Story number 4, billionaire Clive Palmer says he will chair a new political party, and it is called, Sean, Trumpet of Patriots, and he says Australia needs more Trump policies.
After the Australian Electoral Commission confirmed the United Australia Party couldn't re-register as a party, Mr. Palmer said he'd take the helm of a new political outfit. I quote Mr. Palmer: "The party believes in the policies of Donald Trump, which is shown to be effective in bringing management back on track. Australia needs Trump policies. Australians want them." End quote. Trumpet of Patriots will run candidates in the upper and lower house. The party will focus on, and I quote, ending the gender agenda, end quote, policies banning trans people in women's sport and gender-affirming healthcare for young people. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, in response, said Clive Palmer spending tens of millions of dollars is a distortion of democracy.
Last one, story number 5. What do you make of this one, Sean? KFC, the fast food restaurant chain, known best, really, formerly known officially as Kentucky Fried Chicken, it is moving. It's moving its corporate headquarters in the US from Louisville in Kentucky to Texas.
TFC?
TFC. It does not have the same ring to it.
Yum Brands owns the business. It's moving all the employees over to Texas from Kentucky. A real shame, I think. Yum Brands is a massive company in the US, owns KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, said it wrong, didn't I? And Habit Burger and Grill. In recent years, many companies have relocated to Texas, attracted by the state's lower taxes and business-friendly policies. However, KFC, no longer in Louisville, doesn't seem right to me.
No, it certainly doesn't. All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Thursday, the 20th of February, 2025. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.